Okay, so this is the complementary color mixing demo for your next assignment, which is the complementary mixing assignment. And you've seen here I've got my palette paper laid out. I've got a little 6 by 11 inch piece of illustration board with my graphite transfer. I happen to use this scene from 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was a pretty cool movie. And I have my palette here. I have my complementary colors, orange and ultramarine deep. You can also use orange and cobalt blue if you prefer. I don't care which one, but there has to be an orange and a blue, and not turquoise, just ultramarine or cobalt, not both. So that's for one, and then for the other, you're going to use violet and primary yellow. And as I indicated in the lecture, one of the main goals of this assignment is to get you to use complements, saturated complements like orange and blue or yellow and violet, to create desaturated tones. And the reason why is, as you guys go out into the remainder of your academic and professional careers, you're going to be required to, whether you're working in analog paint or digital paint, you're going to be required to come up with a lot of desaturated colors, because frankly, saturated colors like this are only a small part of the spectrum, a small part of what you're going to be required to be working in as professionals and as artists and designers. And it's basically everything that you did in the color wheel is all very saturated color. And you won't get far with that in terms of your ability to create imagery, create mood and follow narrative and things like that. You really need to be able to use those basic building blocks, which, as I said, are kind of like the alphabet of color, in order to write the sentences and paragraphs that make stories richer and more fully developed. The world in general is made up of much more desaturated color than saturated color. That's why it's so important to know how to mix it. And so what I've done here is I've laid out some piles of little pools of orange, pools of blue, to show you the incredible variety in terms of light and dark and warm and cool, saturated and desaturated you can get when you're mixing these colors. So if you take a little bit of the orange and mix it with the blue, you get this really dark brown. And this is why you do not need black. And I don't want you using black to mix your colors at all in this assignment, because you'll see right here, you have this incredibly dark bluish brownish color that is so dark it might as well be like a black. So that's one extreme of it. Now what you can do, of course, is take that kind of gray basically, and by adding white to it like this, all of a sudden, it almost looks like something out of your grayscale, except it's a little bit bluer. And you can tint it even more. Tinting is what you call adding white, and get this incredible range of light and dark that are, very desaturated, almost like grayscale colors, okay? Then if you mix the colors kind of roughly, like half and half, you get this great rich brown. And this is something that you can use for, it's great for clothing and flesh tones and earth tones and all sorts of different things that you need to be creating versions of in the real world. I used, I believe, some of the images from from Rogue One. Actually were part of this, where you were working with desaturated color and looking at how they used a desaturated palette in the making of that particular film. So here again, you see this brown, you add some white to it, you get a much paler color, and then that's kind of a neutral, and then if you add just a little bit of blue to the orange, you get a really warm kind of brownish color. Okay, and again, add the yellow to that, or pardon me, add the white to that, and you get these really rich, light, creamy colors, which again are almost like flesh tone, right? It's all like it has that kind of reddish color to it. So you run the gamut, all right, from warm to cool to neutral to light to dark. The variety of colors that you're able to generate with just 3 tubes of paint, orange, blue, white, are remarkable. And then basically all you do is do kind of what you did with your emphasis assignment, which is, paint your graphite transferred image and, add a little water. And I'm gonna make, this is Dave from 2001, and I'm gonna use flesh tone just to make it a little more natural. like that. Because he is kind of flesh toning. And I don't want you guys to feel like you're prisoners of your source material, you know, that everything that would normally be realistically flesh toned has to be. You know, you can get weird if you want to. Like, you know, Dave actually has dark brown hair. If you want to give him light blue, gray hair, that's fine by me. You know, I don't care. The goal is variety, and that's why this is different from the emphasis assignment, where I was trying to get you to create some point of focus, some point of emphasis. I don't want you to do that here. That's really not necessary. What I do want you to do is push the limits of what you can get out of this complementary mix, so that you are showing me that you are able to execute the broadest variety of lights and darks, warms and cools, saturated and desaturated colors. So the more of a pure color that you have, more of a pure complement, like a pure orange or a pure blue, the more saturated it will be, you know, and the more you mix the two together, the more desaturated it will be. Give me variety. And again, just a little tech tip, you know, if you guys want to do the full-on detail work, you want to add a little water, you want to use a really thin brush like this. I've got this #1 brush that has this long bristle that I like so much. You know, get all the paint off it, and I can go in and do these little details on Dave. You know, things like that. I'm making him smile more than he is in this one. He's actually with Hal, so he's not having a very good day. But, you know, you get the idea. Something like that. If you want to put a little detail into his hair, you can do that. Again, like, detail is nice. You know, I like that. I mean, it shows a richness of imagery, and it helps establish the reality of the scene if that's what you want to go to. I don't need it to be that way. That's not the primary goal. I do appreciate good detail, and I love good painting. I know that's not everybody's specialty, but what I want you to be able to do is create this broad range of colors. Show that to me here on your little 6x11 illustration board, and everything's cool. And you'll be like, oh my God, he's going to waste all that paint. You know what? I am. So that's the orange and blue, and I'm just going to show you what the yellow and violet looks like. This is throwing crap away in my little studio here. So again, I'm going to do the same thing with the yellow and violet. Just a little bit of yellow, then a lot of yellow. Remember, yellow's a wimp, you know, so you need to do that accordingly. Remember that it's not the strongest pigment in the world. And this is an instance where, you know, as we were working on the color wheel, it was important that I was trying to get you guys to use the paint in the right way to avoid things being streaky. Well, I don't really care, you know, in this one. Again, if you're adding water to the paint or you're not adding water to the paint, I really don't care. If you have rough, you know, like dry edges, you know, stuff like this, like dry brush strokes, you know, that's fine, you know, if it works for what you're trying to do. I really don't care. Ooh, it's transparent. Oh no, so sue me. All right, don't worry about it. It's okay if it is. But I do want you to do the same thing with the yellow and violet. And this always cracks me up because whenever I do this demo, I think of the Los Angeles Lakers. So those of you that follow basketball, that's the Lakers colors. So squeeze out a bunch of white, and I'm going to do the same thing, like a little bit of yellow and a little bit of violet, just like our friends, you know. Now you need a little more yellow to make it less violet, because remember, yellow's the wimp. But if you add enough yellow in here, you'll get a nice dark. Again, you don't need black, okay? You'll get these really dark browns, real dark chocolate browns like that. You really don't need black. So no pure black, no black at all actually. And you're adding white a lot, which is fine, but I don't want you adding, you know, I don't want pure white. You know, but see, look at that. I mean, it's great. Beautiful colors, right? Okay. And this is the intermediate mix. It gives you a brown, very much like the neutral brown that you get from equal amounts of orange and blue. You know, and if you just add a little bit of violet into the yellow, remember the yellow's a wimp, so just the tiniest bit of violet will turn it into something that looks almost like mustard, you know, kind of thing like that. Okay, and again, you're adding white. See what it looks like. Add white to this one. Add a all to this. You know, and look, I mean, you just get an amazing range of saturated and desaturated colors. And that's what I want from this assignment, is that kind of range, that kind of warm to cool to light to dark, you know, add a lot of white to it. So I want one of the paintings to be strictly based on orange and blue, another one strictly based on yellow and violet. For our purposes here, what I'm going to do is just, you know, I'm going to do it really quickly with both, because it's a demo and we don't have much time. You guys want to get to work. I know, me too. Okay, so, you know, again, this is the kind of brown you get. Want to add a little water to it, make it easier to spread the paint. Now, of course, like, you know, I yelled at you about with the paint you were using for the swatches for color wheel, it's like, oh no, look how streaky it is. I don't care, all right? That's not so bad. If you want to go for that transparency watercolor effect, that's fine, you know. Personally, I like things opaque. It gives you a chance to see the color in a more rich way. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Here I'm going to use this kind of caramelly, butterscotchy, I'm still thinking about Halloween, you know, color like that. You know, maybe I want to do alternating stripes of this here. Again, I'm doing this really quickly. Okay. Whoop. Don't break your brush. Oh, and if you want to do, I think I mentioned this before, if you want to do wet into wet, you know, where the paint's still wet and you get it to be like smeary like this, it's kind of cool. Go for it. You know, pretend you're